So who are you?
I'm Shimon Shoken. I'm normally a professor of computer science at the IDC Herzliya, which is an Israeli university, which I helped co-found actually a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you a little bit about a venture that I got into called Slate Science, in which we built some very cool educational apps.
Very cool. And you're known all over the world, because when I put a picture up of you, you had students all over the world saying, I know, I had a class with him. Or
Right, yeah.
It's really great to meet you, because it's an honor. But this isn't your computer science side of your life, right? Or is it?
No, well, it is in a way, because we're using some very fancy software engineering infrastructure to create our apps very quickly.
Yeah.
And in addition to developing some cool apps, we also put together some authoring environments and authoring tools that enable us to develop apps very rapidly. And I can talk about this also.
Very cool. And what is this for? Because this is not for a college level course. This is, and how did you get into this?
Right. Well, I have a passion for science education in general, and math education in particular, and I was quite displeased by the state of math education in Israel and also in the United States.
Yeah.
And about 10 years ago, together with some colleagues, we were looking for some great math programs all over the world, and we found some in Singapore, Korea, Japan, and we learned how these guys teach math, and together with our own knowledge and intuition, we put together an approach and a pedagogy to teaching elementary math. And we focus mainly on lower age, sort of early age math. So this is like kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. And we don't seek to replace teachers. We don't seek to replace textbooks even. We want to complement what students learn in schools, and complement it with a sort of very fun and engaging approach for learning science and math in particular.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed is my kids are taking to this iPad thing, and I'm noticing that's true. When I'm in an airport, lots of kids have iPad, and they take to this.
Right.
They just love it. They attract to it, right?
Yeah.
And is this changing? Well, tell me what you're trying to do here.
It's changing completely the way we teach math, because math is abstract.
Yeah.
And yet, with a tool like an iPad or any tablet, math becomes a sort of a hands-on activity. You can actually touch the material. You can manipulate the object with your own fingers. And numerous studies, beginning with the child psychologist Jean Piaget, indicate the best way to learn something abstract is to make it concrete, and to make it something that can illustrate using physical objects and physical activities. So, in
my age, when I was growing up, my dad got an HP calculator that did graphs.
Okay.
And I love that, because I could see the math, in a graph.
Exactly.
And it's very crude compared to today's world, where we have beautiful high-resolution color screens.
But that's the beginning. It's the beginning of the notion of visualizing math, rather than just learning it in a sort of a cold, detached manner.
Can you walk me through some of the lessons that you might?
We developed numerous. We call them episodes so there are various episodes covering elementary concepts, insights, skills, proficiencies. So if you look at something like, let's say, division.
By the way, this looks a lot like Angry Birds.
Yeah, we borrowed some ideas from popular games. So here's a little scene in which you have some aliens who happen to like tomatoes, and the task is to divide the tomatoes equally among these strange creatures. And if you divide them unequally, they start yelling at each other, and why are these guys getting more? And then you sort of have to correct it and make them happy. And at some point, they do become happy. I mean, we have some sound which I'm skipping. Yep. And then when you move to the next step, we get the aliens out of the picture, so that the kid can focus on the task itself. So you have to do exactly the same thing as you did before, but now you're not distracted of the underlying story, which is very important in math education, because you want kids to focus on the math itself.
Yep.
And to use some story to motivate it, but at some point you want to walk them from concrete to more abstract.
And we just learned 12 divided by 3 is 4, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to illustrate. And as you move forward, it becomes even more abstract. It becomes, now it looks like an equation. And we use this to sort of motivate the notion of multiplication. So now you also learn, without even sort of feeling it, you learn that 12 equals 3 times 4, because that's the nature of the exercise that you just did.
Yeah.
So this is sort of general division, and then we have all sorts of different divisions, like dividing by 2. So when you divide by 2, we use this balance here to sort of motivate the notion of equal division. And we give all sorts of rewards when you get something right. Dividing by 4, for example, we motivate by asking you, how many squares can be constructed from 12 matchsticks. So, you do this. Kids do it much better than me. And once you manage to construct such a square, the software begins to count how many squares you constructed, and it ends up, you're going to construct 3 of them. That's the answer to 12 divided by 4. At some point, you're going to hit some exercises like the ones you do in school. So if you want, you can answer the exercise, and everything is sort of handwritten. And if you get stuck, let's say you try this one, you say 5, which is incorrect. The software doesn't like it. If you want, you can choose this magic lamp, and then you can select one of the metaphors that you used before, like this one, and then you can once again use the metaphor to help you, guide you in this exercise. And as you move to other exercises, the metaphor changes.
Yeah.
So it's sort of direct visualization of what you're doing. And it goes on and on. And if we can move into some more advanced material, if you look at, let's say, the notion of area, then one way to explain area is to say, let's try to tile this shape, and let's just count how many tiles fit in. Okay, so you just go through this. I will not go through the whole thing, but at some point you just count the tiles, and that's the answer that's one way to explain area. As you move on to more complicated figures like parallelogram, well, if you try to tile this one, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so what we do here is we tell the child, look, you have some other tools that you can play with, and we give all sorts of tips. One thing that you can do is try to change this shape to another shape that we're already familiar with. So what you can do is you can use these tools here. For instance, you can cut it, and then you can glue it, and then you're back to the question that we had before. And this illustrates a very important principle in math and in science in general, which is called reduction. How to reduce a complex problem into something that you already know how to solve. And when you go to more sort of challenging areas like triangle, well, see, there's a bug here.
Yep.
This is a pre-alpha.
There's fewer bugs than the last time you visited.
Yeah, right. That's a pre-alpha version. But as you move to other, let's see.
I might try closing it completely down.
Yeah. This, by the way, you haven't asked me that, but I can tell you that this is sort of we haven't released the product yet.
Yeah.
And we are starting a pilot in Israel in September in several schools. And we're going to sort of seed the market with some apps in the summer.
Now, has this methodology been used in classrooms before, or is this a totally new methodology?
It's I don't know. I suppose that many teachers use something similar to this, using all sorts of physical objects. Like marbles and cards and ropes and all sorts of scissors, glue. But it's a pain. And it's almost impossible to come to every class with 30 cardboards and 30 scissors and 30 bottles of glue.
Yeah.
So what this gives you is sort of a low-cost, lightweight approach to doing physical exercises, to feel the material with your 10 fingers. And in that respect, it simply makes the life of the teacher far easier.
Yeah.
And the student...
When I visited Carnegie Mellon and I talked with the professors there, they said that they're using techniques like this to teach computer science,
Yeah.
and that they're having success getting more women interested. Is this something that you're
Yeah.
that you're going to test out? Like, are you having more success with
Yeah.
different kinds of students?
We're definitely going to test it, and we are almost sure that that girls will have a far easier time with this kind of learning because you progress on your own pace. You don't have to be sort of shy to sort of raise your hand, because we know that boys are more risk-taking than girls, and that's why they also make more foolish things at some different points. And girls have their own way of learning, and in many cases they're sort of withdrawn in the classroom. But with this, you know, you're operating on a one-on-one basis with the software, so you can do it in your own terms.
Yeah. Are you building a business around this, or
well,
and who's involved?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are the team that put this together consists of both celebrity mathematicians from Israel and some rock star software developers, and that's unique because in that respect, you know, I dare to say that we are similar to the Khan Academy in the sense that we managed to recruit some tremendous people into this enterprise. And I'm saying this because unfortunately in the education business there are many mediocre teams out there, and that's because it doesn't pay. It's not a very lucrative business to be in. Well, at least it has been that way so far, but I think...
Yeah, VCs used to have a rule. We don't invest in education because there wasn't a good way to make a scalable business out of it.
I know, but I think it's going to change big time. I think that education is one of the most sort of untapped market segments out there. You know, every family has a child that struggles with math.
Yeah.
And schools in general are in the middle age, you know, in terms of the way they teach. Nothing has changed since, you know, Plato and so we think that we think that technology is finally coming together. The web, the touch, software engineering, rapid development environments. Finally, education, sort of technology is coming together to meet the demands of sort of massive solutions for education.
And low-cost devices that don't need IT support. You know, I mean, it still is a little expensive. I spent about $900 on my iPad, but it has LTE in it. It has everything you need. You don't need to go to some teacher or some IT professor. I used to be on my son's technology committee at school, and it was really hard to get new computers even donated to the classroom because they just couldn't deal with them. These are very different.
These are very different because they need no support, and you know, we don't want to do it here, but it's very robust, and if you drop it, nothing happens. And
well, most of the time.
Well, I dropped it several times and nothing happened.
My son actually throws his on the ground because he's autistic, and you know, he gets mad and he just throws it, and it doesn't break. But we broke one time, so you know. It's expensive to break, but you get a good case around it, and
and so it doesn't need a constant web connectivity. You know, it's not a client server model. It's a new model in which you preload it with all the stuff that you want, and if you want, you can drop it in Africa somewhere, and you know, kids can learn for a whole year without updating their software.
Yeah, the next iOS I just saw this morning even lets you lock down the device so that it only has one app and the home button doesn't work, which is great for this kind of app.
Yeah.
Because a teacher can then know that the kid won't get distracted and start playing real Angry Birds instead of math Angry Birds.
Absolutely. That's a challenge, and yet, you know, we provide learning management systems, so teachers can actually page through they have pictures of all their children in the class, and they can actually page through each child and see exactly what the child is doing. And also we have a whole set of sort of data mining layer here in the background that acquires what each child is doing, monitors the child's progress. We know exactly how far each child went with each subject. I should also point out that, you know, one thing which is unique about our approach is that we cover the entire curriculum. It's not just a sporadic collection of some nifty ideas on how to teach something. We work by the Common Core Curriculum, which is sort of the nationwide math curriculum, and we have apps that cover every one of the topics in the curriculum. We do the same with the Israeli curriculum, and we're going to do the same with curricula of other countries. So essentially we're developing sort of a huge portfolio of mini apps, and these portfolios can be recombined and put together to produce apps that cover different curricular constraints.
You're showing me basic math,
Yeah.
first grade, second grade math. What other kinds of apps are you developing?
Well, the company is called Slate Science, and we bought a whole set of domain names: Slate Math, Slate Chemistry, Slate Physics, Slate English, Slate Spanish. So that's where we're going to head up once we're done with the math, which is a lot of work.
No, it is. Are you building this in such a way that you can build the second and third app easier than the first one?
Yeah, so here's what we do. We have, as we started to develop these apps, we figured out at some point that we can do it sort of in a much more rapid and sophisticated way. And once again, we call these things episodes, and we put together what we call an episode description language, which is kind of a lightweight XML type scripting language that describes what happens in each episode using markup text that sits outside the code. So each of these episodes consists of things like there's a scene, there are characters, there are behaviors, there are feedbacks, and we can code all this outside the code using our own language, which is textual. And this also makes our stuff cross-platform, because for each platform we have a runtime engine that takes this external file and renders it on the host platform.
So you could build for Android or Windows 8
Absolutely.
or whatever comes out, or
for
if a $100
Windows 8.
tablet comes out.
Yeah, and so we think that in addition to developing apps, we also came up with a new way to generate interactive apps on tablets. And we are thinking of releasing this tool, the authoring tool, just giving it away so that any teacher, any parent will be able to develop, or any domain expert, to develop some apps of their own. And we'll put together some ecosystem in which people can share apps, improve apps, sort of
That's awesome.
Turn this into a much more dynamic offering.
So this is pre-beta, pre-shipping software.
Yeah, this is pre-alpha.
Have you tested it with any kids yet, or?
Yeah, we tested it with our own kids. It's unfair.
So the first real test is this fall.
September. Yeah, come September, we're going to do some real tests.
And then, how soon do you think this is going to be productized to where I can buy it for my kids?
You're going to be able to get some apps off the App Store sometimes in the fall of 2012, and in September of 2013 you'll find these in schools.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Now, for a school to use this, they first they need to buy iPads for everybody, which is
either
500
iPads
times 30.
or $100 Androids.
Do you have Android already working? Or?
Almost. So we can run on the Fire, for example.
Which is $200. Okay.
Yeah, but it's
pretty affordable.
Yeah.
Yep. And so the school needs to buy 30 of them, or 38 if you're in a California class.
That's another part of our vision. We think that this thing, within 2 or 3 years, is going to dominate. It's going to be, it's so cheap, it's so cost effective. It's much less expensive than buying 10 textbooks.
Yeah.
So we think that within a few years, the economics are going to be such that this thing is going to be ubiquitous. Every child will have it, both at home and at school.
I totally agree. Some people argue with me there, but they don't understand the economics of having to buy textbooks, and the textbooks have to be replaced every so often to keep up with law and stuff like that.
Right. So.
Not to mention, our schools are failing, and we better start investing in new approaches to keep our kids, ready for the future. Otherwise, we're going to be really, really in trouble.
Absolutely.
How much does your software? So I buy this kit of 40 iPads or 40 Kindle Fires. How much do I pay for for the software to run to do this? Do you have pricing yet?
It depends on if you buy it through a publisher or from the App Store. We're going to work with publishers who are already negotiating with us on how we're going to sort of empower their existing textbooks. So let me say a few words about this. Many publishers today are moving their books to tablets using things like iBook. And yet, it's a little bit like talking heads on TV. Like at the beginning of TV, you had radio programs running on TV and you saw talking heads. Well, and now you see books, you flip pages on the iPad. Every once in a while you can see a movie, but that's it. And so we sort of go the extra mile, and we feel that we're exploiting fully what the tablet can do. So what we can do is we can take an existing textbook, which is already on the iPad and or tablet, and we can plant icons on each page that lead to relevant activities and episodes that can empower what you do with your textbook on the iPad or the tablet. So publishers can work with us, on this, using this particular delivery mechanism.
Yep.
And also you can get these apps for a few bucks on the App Store. We hope that volume will make up for the low price of apps.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else do we need to know about this? Because this is really a pretty... You're going to be speaking at TED soon, right?
Yeah, I'm going to speak at TED in 2 weeks from now, and I'm going to speak about something else, but I think I'll give a sort of a sneak preview of this also.
Yeah.
I'm going to speak about the general phenomena, or sort of the virtue of hands-on constructive self-study. I'm a great believer in this modality of learning, and I think that educators don't necessarily have to teach.
Yep.
Rather, they have to provide an environment and tools that tease out your sort of natural ability to explore on your own.
Yep.
And knowledge which is explored on your own is sort of much more profound, deep, and rewarding.
No, I'm a big believer in this. In high school I got C's, but I had a really good SAT score because I learned this way. I learned on the street.
Right.
Asking questions. My dad was an engineer, so I was lucky. I was lucky to be in an environment where I had lots of smart people to ask questions of, sort of like now.
Right. So you turned this into a career.
Yeah, it's a great career too.
Good for you.
I highly recommend it. Can you turn this into something for the college level kids, or is this?
We're going to cover the K-12 curriculum, so definitely all the way to K-12, but we haven't thought about college yet.
Yep.
We want to focus on early age because we think that this is where...
There's other companies aiming at the college, so that might make sense.
Also, early age is like, it's that's where everything starts. Both the challenges, the opportunities, the confusion, the feeling of I didn't understand what was explained today, and maybe I'm stupid, all these terrible things. So we want to come in as soon as possible.
No, you can, by the time somebody is 6 years old, you probably can, educators tell me that they can tell, is this going to be a highly successful person or not.
And in many cases, it's kind of random. You misunderstood something, and it puts you in a disadvantage, and the disadvantage grows and grows, and before you know what, you're a failed student.
Yep.
It's horrible, and shouldn't be that way. So if kids can learn on their own pace, that's the way to do it.
Very cool. Yeah. Where do we learn more about this?
Pretty soon in our website you'll have much more information.
What would be the URL?
The URL will be just Slate Science.
Slate Science.
S-L-A-T-E Science.
Very cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.